Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be making salsa, and I'm going to show you everything that you would need for this salsa and lay out your canning station, and it's going to be great because I love this salsa. It's been tested. I've been making this salsa for I'd say about 7 years, and it's amazing, and I make it every year. Let's get to it. Alright guys, this is what you're going to need. You're going to need 5 pounds. And I suggest you get a scale. This is a digital scale. I got this for cheap. It was like $8, I think, at Walmart. To weigh, put a bowl on it and weigh your tomatoes. You're going to need 5 pounds of tomatoes that we're going to peel and dice up. And you're going to need 2 pounds of an assorted pepper. You can do any type of pepper. You can mix them up if you like. I'm just doing jalapenos today. I'm going to need a pound of chopped onion, which I'm going to chop the peppers and the onions in my Ninja so I can get smaller pieces. You're going to need 1/4 cup of garlic, which I'm also going to mince inside my Ninja also, because I don't want really huge pieces on those. You're going to need apple cider vinegar, any brand will do. Tomato paste, you need 12 ounces, and that's usually 2 cans. And then you're going to need cayenne pepper, cumin, ground coriander, and also black pepper. And you're going to be using, and salt. I forgot the salt. So I'm going to do a tablespoon of salt, a teaspoon of black pepper, a teaspoon of cayenne, a teaspoon of coriander, and a teaspoon of cumin. And I'll put all of that in the description box. And you need 1 full head of cilantro, fresh cilantro. So what I'm going to do right now is we scored the bottom of the tomatoes. Remember, you scoring, you just cutting an X in them. And we're going to put them in boiling water to peel the skins off. And make sure you have an ice bath ready on the side for your tomatoes when they come out. Depending on the size of tomatoes that you use, you got to be careful not to overflow or it'll spit out. Now remember, while that's going, make sure you have your canner going. This is pretty warm. This is the Ninja I'm going to be using because I have a bunch of attachments for this. But if you had something else to chop them up, or you can chop them by hand, it just takes longer and it turns into a long, tedious process. If you have any type of chopper, it should work just fine. Remember, ice bath, and I have my hot water going on the back. So remember to let those sit in there for about 1 minute to 2 minutes. It's usually about a minute. A minute so the skins, you can see the skins coming off that one right there. And then put them in the ice bath and keep going. Now I have assorted tomatoes out of my garden. I don't have just one variety. Some people say you have to use Romas. You have to use that for salsa, or you have to use a certain, that's not true. You can use any type of tomato you have. I have black crib. I think this is a brandy wine. This is a Dr. Weiss. This is a Kentucky beefsteak. Now it does have a bad spot, which I'm going to cut that out. I'm not worried about it. This is, I think, a Cherokee purple or another black crib. And I have some Rutgers right here. And then just all kinds of different tomatoes. You don't have to use one type of tomato. Mix it up. They taste better, I promise. These are all out of my garden. I've been overrun with tomatoes. Now I'm going to put the onions all separately. Onions, garlic, and the jalapenos, or whatever peppers you choose. And I'm going to just pulse it to chop it up some. I'm not going to do puree or anything like that. Just keep pulsing it until it's the size you want it to be. Now if it gets stuck on the sides, you're going to have to push it down. Work it down. Back into there. And then keep going. Alright, you just take this out each time by hand. Do not try to tip this because it will fall out and cut you. So I'm going to put all this in here, and then I'm going to put it on here first. And turn it on, and then I'm going to weigh out a pound. I should have around a pound. frying. Okay, and just keep working through, mince the garlic up, and then go on to the jalapenos. I'm putting it all in a huge Dutch oven. You can use a huge pot if you have that. You don't have to use this. And this is going to be the next thing chopped up. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to have someone else coming over here, and you're going to take your tomatoes. Now see how this one has a bad spot, which is fine. I'm just going to cut it off right here and throw it away, but I'm going to use the rest of it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start peeling all the skins off, okay? You're going to peel all the skins off the tomato. Make sure you get it all off, especially if it sticks at the top. And once you get it off, you go around with a paring knife and you get off any bad spots. You don't want any bad spots in this. And just set them to the side and keep going, peeling the skins off. Okay, I have all the peppers, the onions, and the garlic in here. And I'm going to put the tomato paste in. And remember, the easy way to put these in is to cut both sides, okay? So I'm going to put both of those in, and then I'm going to start putting in all of my seasonings. Okay, so both sides, okay? And just push, use your fingers to push through. And it'll clean out the can for you. So, just find the two ends. And it all comes out and you don't have to worry about a spoon. There we go. Alright, now I'm going to put a cup of apple cider vinegar in there. You can use any type you like. Don't worry, I got that other half of the lid out of there. Just didn't show it. Now I'm going to start adding the spices. I have 1 tablespoon of salt. You can use sea salt, whatever you got. And you'll need 1 teaspoon of everything else. So I have a cayenne pepper, 1 teaspoon. And I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of cumin, coriander, and black pepper. Alright, all the tomatoes have the skins off of them. Now you can take these skins, they're really thin, you can actually put them in a dehydrator. And when they're dehydrated, just make tomato powder. Or you can just throw them away. But you're going to have to take each tomato, cut off any bad spots, and then core it out. I actually have a core somewhere. I'll try to find it. But just core it out and make sure there's no bad spots anywhere, okay? And do that to all the tomatoes, and then we'll start slicing them up. Now this is actually a strawberry core, and you've seen me use it before for other stuff, for pineapple too. So this works great, and these are cheap. You can get them at Walmart, wherever. So I just take it and core out the middle, okay? This makes it easier if you have really large batches. Alright, make sure you have some towels because a lot of juice is going to come out of there. So what you're going to do, now some of these I had to dig out with the bigger knife because they weren't small. What you're going to do is you're just going to cut the tomatoes into however thick you want them. Now they will cook down, we're going to cook them down, so you have to take that into account too. I cut mine probably about a ½ inch thick, okay? And all you're going to do is you're going to chop them in to the sizes that you want. And sometimes if I feel they're too big, I'll just go back over them, okay? But you just want to dice them to the size you want because they will cook down. You don't have to worry about that. So I do about that size. And whenever you start doing them, get your pot and throw them in your pot. Now you can stir this around, but it will cook down. It's not a big deal. Just take them and throw them in there once you cut them down. Make sure there's no bad spots on them. But just keep going on the tomatoes until you get them all chopped up and in the pot. Isn't that pretty, guys? So what you're going to do is you're just going to stir all this around. The only thing I did not stick in here is the cilantro. I'm going to cut up this a whole head of cilantro. I'm just going to cut it up and let it sit here on the board. I'm not going to put it in until the very last second right before I put it in the jars. So I'm going to cut it up, mince it up really fine, and just leave it here while I'm starting to cook. Okay, so I'm just going to stir this completely in. Don't worry, some of these are chunky tomatoes, but they are going to cook down some. I'm not worried about it. Just stir this all in. Remember, don't stick your cilantro in. If you find any pieces of skin left on there, try to pull them out. But I mean, I'm pretty sure we got them all, except for that little piece. Just put it on medium-high heat and start letting it get ready to cook down. Cilantro's minced and ready. Trying to get this to come to a boil. Make sure you have all of your lids and your bands and all your canning materials clean. And this is vinegar. I'm going to put hot water on, or put hot water in with this. And I have about 9 jars in here. These are the wide mouth jars. You don't have to use those ones, whichever you prefer. Oh, starting to move some. Make sure you stir this so it doesn't scorch. You don't want it to scorch. Just make sure you have everything ready for when it boils. Okay, see how it's cooked down some? Starting to release its juices. Just keep cooking it. Keep cooking it. It takes a while for it to all of this to come to a boil, but it will. Alright guys, so this is what you want, unless it burns you. This is what you want. Stir it around. It was boiling all over the place. Now you're going to turn it down to about a medium and let it simmer for about 5 minutes. Alright, my 5 minutes went off. Now I let it sit there for a second. We're going to dump all of the cilantro in, okay? And then stir it around really good. Remember not to put this in until after you're done cooking it. Don't put it in beforehand. Alright. Stir it all in really good. It's a beautiful salsa. Oh yeah. That's real pretty. Because remember, it's going to cook also inside the jars. And I'm going to get some jars and bring them over here and set them down. And I'm going to, got my hot boiling water. Remember, I'm going to remind people every single time I do this step just to be safe. Make sure everything is sanitized. People say you don't have to do this. Well, I don't want my food to spoil, so I'm going to do this way, how I learned how to do it. Remember to have a towel to wipe your rims. I'm going to get some jars. Alright, so I have 4 jars. You don't have to do multiple jars. You can do 1 jar at a time. But you can do 1 at a time and just take them out. But I'm just going to do multiple at a time. Use your funnel. Scoop up your salsa, and you're going to do a 1/2 inch headspace on the jars. Okay? I moved it over here so we could see it better because I have a dark kitchen. I mean, that's a pretty salsa. And if you go over, you can just take some out. It's not a big deal. I'm going to use the headspace tool to check and make sure they are at the correct headspace, which I have. So remember the headspace tool? This is another one that I have that's broken off. But remember, this right here is a 1/4, half, 3/4, 1 inch. We need a half. So we're going to make sure that they're all at 1/2 inch headspace. Alright, I'm going to push some of these down just so I know that they're completely flat and redo my headspace tool. Because some of them were mounded. That one has too much. See? That one's too far. There we go. So it needs a 1/2 inch. That one probably needs just a little. Yep. There we go. And now take the hot water and vinegar solution. Remember, wipe your rims really good. You want your seal to be good on this. If it gets dirty, flip it inside out. Keep going. Go over them again. And then get your lids. Take some of those out. I can reach my lids. Over your lids. Don't touch the inside of it. Okay, once you have all the lids on, remember when you put your bands on, fingertip tight, don't wrench them. So when you're holding it and you feel resistance, stop. You don't want to do it really hard, resistance, and just keep going with all of them until you filled all your jars. And these are pints, by the way. Last jar, I'm going to try to squeeze it in because those 9 pints is tight in here. And I got them in there. It's just that with the lids, they're harder to fit. And I have at least 1 inch over, so I'm not too worried about it. So turn it full blast high, put the lid on, wait for it to come to a rolling boil inside, and then we're going to start our timer for 15 minutes. Alright, so see how it's boiling like that? That's when you want to set your timer. 15 minutes. And once 15 minutes goes off, turn it off and move it over to the other eye. Don't scoot it. You don't want to scratch anything. Okay, the timer went off. I moved them over, let them sit there for a minute or two, and then I'm going to go put them on the counter, and I'm going to leave them there until tomorrow around midday so their seals can probably seal, and then I'll check the rings tomorrow. But let's get these out of here. Okay, remember, when you pull these out, don't tip them. The water will evaporate off. I gotta set this down. I know I don't have a good grip on that. There we go. I'm gonna set them right there, and I'm gonna leave them right there. And I actually got a whole nother container, but I couldn't fit any more in the canner, so I'm gonna put them all right here. Okay, let them sit here till tomorrow. I'll be back. We'll check the seals and take out the bands and wipe them down and label them. Alright guys, after you let it sit until the next morning, take the bands off, check the seals, push it down, see if they all popped. And you should be able to hold your jars. I mean, you can tug on it. It shouldn't come off. Don't be afraid. Don't leave your bands on. The bands can create a false seal, and you don't want that. Didn't it turn out to be a pretty salsa? Remember to wipe them down with a warm washcloth all over to get any residue off. And then label them. Make you some salsa so you don't have to buy it from the store. I mean, I got all of this from one batch, and I won't have to buy salsa at all. So, go make some salsa. Guys, that's the end of the salsa. Now, I did end up using about 6 pounds. I said 5. I did 6. I did 6 pounds of tomatoes. Remember, use any type of tomatoes you want. You don't have to use a certain kind. Mix up, they taste better. If you want it extra spicy, instead of 2 pounds, where you weigh out 2 pounds and then you core them, you can do about 3 pounds and then core them, and you should end up with about 2.5 pounds. And it does make it spicier, so if you like that spice, go ahead and just do a little bit more jalapeno. It's not gonna hurt anything. But remember, go make some salsa. I'll leave the recipe down in the description box, and I'll see you guys next time.